I am Jose Aliaga.
And I'm Matt Marco. Welcome back to the Aliaga Marco Show. And Jose, today is exactly 1 month since the general election in the United States. It's hard to believe it's only been a month with all that's happened as a result.
Yes, it is. And it's kind of sad. Sometimes this type of issues that we see remind me countries like Venezuela, or what happened in Peru in 2000, where we saw a lot of evidence of fraud and end up actually what proved there was fraud. And it's very sad what's going on here in America is we have a strong signs that we becoming a socialist country, and it's really sad.
It's very sad, Jose, because it looks like there was a coup d'etat. You would not expect something like this to happen in the United States. We consider ourselves to be a first world country, yet we can't seem to have a fair and secure election. And it seems like, Jose, from everything we've heard, we used a ballot counting system that was developed in Venezuela in order to give Maduro an advantage by corrupting the count.
It's very sad, and we have a lot of evidence what happened in Rochester Hills when one of the county commissioners find out that he lost, and he actually he conceded his election, but hours later they find out was a mistake in the software, and he ended up winning by several votes. And then in one of the counties as well, north of Michigan, they had the same problem with the same software. So obviously it's a problem with the software.
So you had the Dominion voting system and also this Smartmatic software, which seems like it was easily corrupted. If you look at the video we did with the North Oakland Republican Club, if you look at that YouTube channel, and we did a very good meeting there, which went over in detail all the corruption and fraud that went on. And I recommend anybody watching this go over to the North Oakland Republican Club YouTube channel and look at that video. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long, Jose. It gets into a lot of those details. But one of the things that's an obvious illegal activity that happened is what happened to you, Jose, that you went there as a paid election observer for the Republican Party. You were actually working directly for President Trump to observe what was happening, and you were blocked and prevented from seeing what was going on, which is illegal.
It is, because the law is very clear. The law allowed challengers to be able to challenge everything, but we couldn't even be close to that. And we have several Democrats, so many of them around there, that make sure that we don't do our job well. Their job wasn't taking care of any Joe Biden votes. Their job was focused and make him comfortable. They tried to intimidate every single Republican members. By the way, we were like close to 60 people at the most. There were more than 200 people up there, well rested, well prepared, what to do to make sure that we don't do our job, which is take care of President Trump voting.
So, Jose, tell us exactly what you experienced as an observer. Were you physically blocked from seeing what was going on? Were you kept at a distance where it was out of your sight, your vision? What happened, Jose?
Every time I try to be close, or any of us try to be close, we'll have 2 or 3 of them come to us, starting screaming, yelling, says, "Hey, he's too close, he's too close." I just want to see the process. I just want to verify that what they're doing was right. I want to make sure they put in the right voting. I want to see those ballots. And I couldn't even use my phone because they will call a cop or somebody there to remove me if I use my cell phone.
And I just want to clarify, Jose, that you were there at the convention center in Detroit, where they were bringing all of the absentee ballots, which were hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands at least.
That's right.
That were brought, the absentee ballots for counting. So you were right there where the majority of the ballots for Wayne County, Detroit, were being brought.
I asked some clerks in Oakland County, and they told me after 8 p.m. they did not take more absentee votes or any ballots. In Detroit, at between 3 and 3:30, there were coming several trucks with several ballots there. And what I noticed, because I couldn't be close, they make impossible to have a visual and be able to see what's going on. I see several ballots with the same color of pencil, color black pencil was, and all the votes I can see from far away was Joe Biden, Gary Peters. So,
and that's all that was on those ballots.
Very much in the ones that I saw, yes. And surprised me because usually when people get absentee, they get the ballot at home, they have a lot of time to actually fill up the ballot and flip the ballot and, to both sides, which the ones that I could see, didn't have that. Just 2 or 3 people, they said, which is surprising that the ballots that could see, just the people decide just to vote for just 2 or 3. And I noticed too, then I didn't see any type of verification or anything. They just, whatever they got, boom, 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 boom. But come on, Detroit were the only one so far that can accept ballots after 3:30 in the morning.
And Jose, those ballots were separated from the envelope. Now, the envelope that the ballots come in are actually signed by the voter. And those signatures are supposed to be compared to what's on the file to make sure it's legitimate. And then I understand that those envelopes were separated from the ballot, and those ballots were fed into the counting machine. So if there's a recount without those envelopes, you wouldn't be able to verify those signatures.
Right, and according to Dr. Lee Tarver, she actually testified this week, on the hearing in Michigan. She says that 71% cannot be recounted in Detroit. 71% cannot be recounted in Detroit, which is a big number, okay? And remember when it was a recount in 2016, because Democrats says, oh, nobody complained in 2016. Yes, it was a complaint. It was a recount in 2016 by the Green Party, by Jill Stein. What they find out was it was more ballots than voters. That was back in 2016. It was I saw an article also in Detroit News.
Yes.
People know that.
But we also heard people that were observing, like you were, saying that not only were these ballots coming in mysteriously at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning just for Biden, but they were repeatedly being fed into the voting machine, the same ballot over and over, which is what this meme we're looking at is showing us.
Yeah, this meme I find it on Facebook, and it's
it sort of depicts what you observed, Jose, correct?
Yeah, and it's sad. It's sad because once again, what that it makes this process is making America become socialist, because elections like this, things like this with this type of evidence is what happened in socialist or communist countries like Venezuela, Cuba, and so forth. Yeah. And it's sad, and it's happening in America.
And it's interesting that the Democrats who were actually preventing you from seeing all that, you think the Democrats would say, all right, let's investigate this. Let's see if there was a fair election. Instead, they're resisting. They don't want this investigated. They just want to say nothing happened here. Let's move on. Which, if this election is not properly vetted and secured, people will not trust what the result is if in fact it's left for Joe Biden to become president as a result of this.
That's right. And what the Republican Party is asking is for forensic audit, not for a recount. We want to make sure that we have a real ballots from real people.
But the problem is, Jose, that may not be able to be done to have a forensic count. If the envelopes were separated, if some of the evidence has been destroyed, how can you actually even do an audit at this point? So anyway, this is, I like this meme you sent, Jose, trying to figure out how Biden won a record low of less than 17% of all U.S. counties, yet supposedly won the election with the most votes in history. Supposedly, they're saying that Biden got 80 million votes, which would be the most of anyone. He got more votes than Obama in either of his elections, more of the black vote than Obama ever got. And it's very suspicious. At the same time, Jose, President Trump got more votes than any president has ever received in the history of the United States. I believe those are legitimate. Maybe he got more than that. So this is all very suspicious, Jose.
To me as well, because I was following Joe Biden rallies, events, and whatever. He couldn't get any more than 40 people, the most.
Yes, and I went to a Trump rally right here in Waterford, Michigan. He came into the airport. It was unbelievably packed. I think there were 20,000 people there at the airport. And the enthusiasm was off the charts. And he was doing 5 rallies like that a day for the week before. It's amazing how hard he worked. Yet, Biden had these things he called a lid that he would put on, which would mean he's not going to even go out and campaign, and you can't even have the press talk to him. He basically did not campaign. Maybe it's because he knew that this was in the bag and he didn't have to.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, he was campaigning from his basement very much, and he didn't put any much effort. It seems I saw more on Nancy Pelosi than him, actually, being the news, and it's very sad. It's very sad. And just for you know, it's a lot of more witnesses and a lot of evidence than the mainstream media is covered up.
And and that's a good point. I was just about to say that. You hear the mainstream media say it's baseless, these allegations, and you hear people saying there's no evidence. The reality is there is a ton of evidence. For example, the president's lawyer, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, came into Michigan yesterday and was talking to the Michigan legislature. He had a file of signed affidavits from witnesses like you. Now, a signed affidavit is considered hard evidence in the court of law. These people are swearing that this is accurate. They're signing it. I think you signed one, right, Jose?
Right, I did.
As an actual observer, this is firsthand knowledge. This is the kind of evidence that people can be put in jail over. You can have somebody convicted for murder from a signed affidavit from an eyewitness. And that's what all these are. He came in with hundreds of signed affidavits, all eyewitness accounts. Not only people like you who witnessed it, but whistleblowers, people that were Democrats, also people that were working for Dominion voting system. These were actual whistleblowers that observed and were saying this was defrauded.
It is true. And something that people have to understand as well is that the liberals control the mainstream media, all those big channels. They control the universities, school boards. I mean, they control Twitter, Facebook. Wherever we post on Facebook or Twitter as evidence to people know what's going on is censorship. They have a censorship they actually cancel out for my friends or friends that I want to share with cannot see it. So it's a problem.
So I guess the question is, how can we remedy this before the Electoral College votes? And one of the way to do that, Jose, and this is one of the things that Rudy Giuliani was talking about, the state legislators are the last firewall to decide who becomes president of the United States. And I put up here Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States. It said, and this is the power that's given to the state legislators. It says, each state shall appoint in a manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in each state. Now in Michigan, that would be a total of 16. So basically what our founding fathers did, they basically said, if there is no other way to do it, each state, which the closest representatives to the people, will decide who elects the president of the United States, who the electors do. They go to the Electoral College, and then they will vote. Now, in Michigan, as with every other state, over the years, the legislatures have said, all right, we're going to hand over our authority to appoint these electors and have it as a popular vote by the people. And then based on that popular vote, we will send our electors. But in a situation like Michigan and many other states who have had very similar of the same kind of fraud that we have seen, very suspiciously the same, Jose, these states can then decide, these legislators can decide there's something wrong with the election, therefore we will have to appoint those electors directly.
Yeah, and it's by the law, and I think we need to follow the law. One of the things that has been happening in Michigan, Matt, is that we have strong laws for election. And what happened is everybody follows except the urban areas. Except Flint, Detroit, and Pontiac, so far for what I see.
Yeah.
So I believe we need to follow the law, and we all Americans believe in the law, and the law have to be enforced. And I hope the state legislatures do their job.
So I'd say, Jose, there's two things that can be done. If there can be any real forensic type of an audit done to verify this fraud, and when time doesn't permit that and there's enough evidence has been destroyed, I think it's time for us to pressure our state legislators to do the right thing, to say that this election has been defrauded. The people who voted for Trump have been disenfranchised by it, and it's time to say this election can't be considered legitimate, that the state legislature is going to have to convene and appoint the electors directly. Now, there is a law on the books that say they can't be done, but I think that would be bypassed by the Constitution of the United States, and they should go ahead and do it, and if there's a court battle afterwards, then so be it. So let's contact our state legislators. I've been doing that this morning. I am asking everybody else that sees this to do it. We need to get this right, and it looks like President Trump, who was winning by hundreds of thousands of votes at midnight on election night, it looks like he won this by a landslide. And for this to have happened at like 3 a.m. shows that there was a ton of fraud, and you witnessed it, Jose.
Right. It eventually, yeah, it was. By 4 o'clock, basically, between 3:30, 4 o'clock, everything changed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, nobody believes that.
Exactly. So
the
Jose,
president
you
of
did a good
Brazil.
job.
And the
Jose,
president
you
of Brazil.
did a good job. You were out knocking on doors early in the morning, and then you went to the convention center in Detroit and you observed until like 5 a.m, right, Jose? And so you did a good job. You were there. So let's get this right. Let's contact our legislators. Let's get this thing moving. And until then, Jose, we will we'll have to get together and do another one of these shows soon and talk about what happens thereafter.
Yes, and for the people then actually looking to find out who is the state representative or who is the state senator, they can actually, I told them, just Google it. You just put, where you live, and you will be able to find who is your representative. They have their email, phone number, so you can call them, send an email, because we need to be strong, we need to be united and fight all together, because democracy needs to be preserved.
And so everybody, thank you for tuning in. We will talk to you again soon, and you can subscribe to this channel and hit the bell, and we'll continue to try to give you content like this.